Welcome back to our channel Rare Coins All World, where we dive deep into the world of rare and valuable coins. If you're someone who loves learning about hidden treasures in your spare change or you're a seasoned collector, you're in for a treat today. We're about to uncover the fascinating story of a coin that's been around for over 50 years, the United States 1-cent Lincoln penny from 1970 with a special mint mark. Yes, you heard that right. This seemingly common penny could be worth much more than its face value, and today we're going to explain why. Let's start with some context. The 1970 Lincoln penny, part of the long-running U.S. penny series, was a regular coin issued by the U.S. Mint. But there's something about the 1970 penny that makes it stand out in the world of numismatics. As with any coin, there's always more to the story than meets the eye. This coin was produced during an interesting time in U.S. history. The country was undergoing significant changes, politically, socially, and economically. The Vietnam War was still ongoing, and the United States was shifting its focus toward peace talks and domestic reforms. The 1970 penny, like other pennies of the era, was made from a combination of copper and zinc, which gives it that signature reddish-brown color. For the most part, these pennies are fairly common. However, not all 1970 pennies are created equal. There's a rare variant of this coin that could make you a small fortune, and it all comes down to the mint mark. Now, let's talk about the mint marks. The U.S. Mint has several minting facilities, each of which marks its coins with a specific letter. The most common mint marks you'll find on coins are D for Denver and S for San Francisco. In 1970, most pennies were minted in Denver, but there was something special happening at the San Francisco Mint that year. In 1970, a special variety of the Lincoln penny was produced with an S mint mark, which was a rarity for that year. You see, the San Francisco Mint wasn't minting regular pennies for circulation at that time. Instead, it was primarily used for striking proof coins, the highly polished, carefully crafted versions of coins that are typically sold in special proof sets. But, in an unusual move, a limited number of 1970 pennies were minted in San Francisco for regular circulation, and these coins were stamped with the S mint mark. The kicker here is that these San Francisco minted pennies were produced in much smaller quantities than their Denver counterparts, which means they are far rarer. Most of these pennies were likely pulled from circulation over the years, but those that remain in excellent, uncirculated condition are highly sought after by collectors today. So, what does this mean for the value of the 1970 penny with the S mint mark? Well, here's where things get interesting. If you happen to have a 1970 penny with the S mint mark in pristine, uncirculated condition, you could be sitting on a treasure worth thousands of dollars. But it doesn't stop there. Some rare versions of this coin, particularly those with certain die errors or other unique features, can increase in value even more. The key to understanding the value of your 1970 penny lies in its condition. Coins that have been kept in mint condition, without any wear, discoloration, or scratches, are the ones that fetch the highest prices. A penny that is in perfect, uncirculated condition with no signs of damage is significantly more valuable than a penny that has seen heavy use. The demand for these well-preserved coins is strong, and collectors are always on the lookout for them. There are also certain variations of the 1970 penny with the S mint mark that can fetch a higher price due to errors made during the minting process. These errors can include things like double die varieties, where the design is struck more than once, creating a doubled image. These types of minting errors are fascinating to collectors and can make the coin worth much more. Now, let's talk about how much this rare 1970 S mint mark Lincoln penny could actually be worth if you happen to have one in excellent condition. Keep in mind that the value of coins fluctuates over time based on demand, condition, and rarity. But if you've got a 1970 penny with the S mint mark, in pristine, uncirculated condition, it could be worth up to $35,000. Yes, you heard that right. $35,000 for a single penny. That's a staggering amount of money for a coin that most people would overlook in their change jar. Imagine stumbling upon one of these rare pennies in a drawer or in a collection passed down through generations. It could be worth far more than you ever expected. If you think you might have one of these rare coins, it's worth taking a closer look. Inspect the mint mark on the reverse side of the coin, and pay attention to its condition. If it's in uncirculated condition or has a unique error, you may just have a rare treasure in your hands. Today, we're going to uncover the fascinating world of the United States 1-cent Lincoln penny from 1981. This seemingly common coin could be worth a small fortune, and you might not even realize it's hiding in your collection. So, if you've got some old pennies laying around, stick around to find out how much your 1981 Lincoln penny could be worth. Let's start with some background. The 1981 Lincoln penny was minted during a time of economic transition in the United States. The country was dealing with high inflation rates, and the U.S. Mint was working on new designs and updates to its coinage. While most people consider pennies from the 1980s to be just regular change, there's something very special about the 1981 penny that can make it worth far more than its face value. Now, when you look at the 1981 Lincoln penny, it may seem like any other penny from the era: copper and zinc composition, a portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, and the familiar memorial design on the reverse. But here's where it gets interesting: the mint mark. The mint mark, which tells you where the coin was struck, is a crucial detail that could change the value of your 1981 penny. In 1981, there were multiple U.S. mint facilities involved in producing coins. The two primary mints that produced Lincoln pennies that year were the Denver Mint and the Philadelphia Mint. Most of the coins were struck at the Denver Mint, but there was a unique and rare version of the 1981 penny that was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. The key difference? The mint mark coins produced in Philadelphia typically don't have a mint mark. This is standard practice for many coins produced at this mint. However, in 1981, the Philadelphia Mint made a significant change. It struck a small number of pennies with a special P mint mark, which was extremely rare. This was the first time since the 1940s that the P mint mark appeared on a penny. So, what does that mean for the value of these rare pennies? You might be thinking, it's just a penny, how much could it possibly be worth? Well, that's where you might be surprised. While the majority of the 1981 pennies you'll come across will be fairly common, the 1981 P mint mark penny is not only rare but highly sought after by collectors. These pennies were not meant to be widely circulated, and most of the 1981 P pennies that were minted ended up being pulled from circulation or damaged over time. That makes finding one in good condition increasingly difficult. So, what makes this coin so valuable? It's all about rarity and condition. Coins that are well preserved, free from wear and damage, are far more desirable to collectors. Many of these 1981 pennies with the P mint mark were used in everyday transactions and show signs of heavy circulation. But if you happen to find one in pristine, uncirculated condition, you could be holding onto a rare treasure. Condition is key when it comes to determining the value of any coin, and the 1981 P Lincoln penny is no exception. A penny that is uncirculated and has been carefully stored can fetch a much higher price than one that's been worn down over the years. In fact, some of the highest-selling examples of the 1981 P penny have sold for thousands of dollars, depending on their condition, but there's more to the value of this coin than just its rarity. Coins with unique features, such as minting errors or design variations, are also highly coveted. While the 1981 P penny doesn't have as many known errors as some other coins, there are still certain variations that can make it even more valuable. For example, some of these pennies were struck with slight die errors, causing the image to appear doubled or misaligned. These types of minting errors are particularly interesting to collectors because they make the coin even rarer and more distinctive. So, how much can an uncirculated 1981 P penny be worth? If you have one of these rare coins in excellent condition, or if it has a unique minting error, it could be worth far more than you might think. In fact, some of these pennies have sold for up to $37,000. Yes, you read that correctly, $37,000 for a single 1981 Lincoln penny with a P mint mark. This high value is based on both the rarity of the coin and the condition it's in. The demand for coins from this era, particularly ones with minting variations or unique features, has driven up their worth in the market. So, if you have an old jar of coins or are going through some change you've had stashed away, it's worth taking a closer look at any 1981 pennies, especially if they have the P mint mark. Before you rush off to dig through your coin collection, it's important to remember that not all 1981 pennies will be worth thousands of dollars. Only those in near-perfect, uncirculated condition or those with minting errors can fetch high prices. But even if you don't have a $37,000 penny sitting in your collection, finding a rare, high-quality coin can still be a rewarding experience, both financially and historically. Today, we're diving into the world of US coins, focusing on a particular gem that might be hiding in your collection or even in your spare change. If you've ever wondered about the value of a 1993 Lincoln penny, then you're in the right place. What you might think is just a common coin could actually be worth a lot more than its face value, and today we're going to reveal why the 1993 Lincoln penny, minted during the early 90s, might seem like any other penny from the era at first glance. After all, this was a time when pennies were still being made from the familiar copper-plated zinc composition. But what makes the 1993 penny so special isn't the material or the design itself, but rather a rare and unique minting feature that collectors and numismatists are constantly on the lookout for. It all comes down to the mint mark. For many years, the U.S. Mint has produced coins at several facilities across the country. The two main mints for Lincoln pennies are the Denver Mint, indicated by the D mint mark, and the Philadelphia Mint, which typically has no mint mark. But here's where things get interesting. The 1993 penny, in particular, has a rare variety that can change the entire value of the coin. This rare version is the one that was struck at the Philadelphia Mint with a very specific mint mark, or rather, a lack of one. You may be thinking, why would a coin without a mint mark be valuable? Well, it turns out that the 1993 penny is part of an unusual set of circumstances. During this time, the U.S. Mint started to focus heavily on producing proof coins and was also experimenting with different die varieties. The 1993 Lincoln penny struck at the Philadelphia Mint without a mint mark was meant to be a part of regular circulation but became far rarer than anyone expected. The minting process for this coin was unique, which makes it especially valuable today, particularly in pristine condition. When looking at the value of a 1993 penny, the condition of the coin plays a huge role. Most of these pennies were used in day-to-day transactions and show typical wear from circulation. Over time, they get scratched, dinged, and lose some of their sharpness. However, what collectors are really after are the coins that remain in uncirculated condition, coins that were kept in perfect storage since the day they were struck. Uncirculated 1993 pennies with a Philadelphia, no mint mark, are exceedingly rare. That's because most of these coins were either spent, damaged, or just generally forgotten in drawers and coin jars over the years. So, if you happen to find a 1993 penny that looks as if it's brand new, no wear, no tarnish, and no damage, you've got something special in your hands. But let's take this a step further. Beyond just the mint mark, collectors also look for specific errors or unique characteristics that can elevate the value of a coin. For the 1993 Lincoln penny, some rare variations can include things like double die errors, where the design appears twice on the coin due to a mistake during the minting process. These types of errors are incredibly desirable because they create a distinct and unique coin. A double die error could make your 1993 penny worth even more than the standard uncirculated ones. Now, you're probably wondering, how much could this 1993 penny really be worth? While most 1993 pennies in average circulation might only be worth their face value, uncirculated coins, especially those from the Philadelphia Mint without the mint mark, can fetch a significantly higher price. The demand for rare, high-quality coins has been increasing steadily, and collectors are willing to pay top dollar for pennies that meet specific criteria. If you happen to have a pristine 1993 Lincoln penny without a mint mark or even one with a rare minting error, you could potentially sell it for a substantial amount. And here's the big reveal: depending on its condition, a 1993 penny with no mint mark could be worth $39,000, yes, that's right, $39,000 for a single penny. It's hard to believe that something so small and seemingly ordinary could hold such value, but it all comes down to rarity, condition, and the specifics of the coin. If you're lucky enough to find one of these rare 1993 pennies in top condition, you could be looking at a small fortune. Before you go digging through your coin collection or jars of loose change, it's important to remember that not every 1993 penny will be worth thousands of dollars. It all depends on its condition and any unique features it may have, such as minting errors. However, it's worth checking your coins carefully. You never know what hidden treasures you might have tucked away. Today, we've got an exciting story about a penny that may be sitting in your collection, waiting to make you a fortune. We're diving into the United States 1-cent Lincoln penny from 1982, and trust me, this coin is more valuable than you might think. If you've ever wondered about the worth of a 1982 penny, stick around because this could be the coin you've been looking for. Now, you might be wondering, what's so special about a penny from 1982? After all, we're talking about a coin that's over 40 years old, which doesn't necessarily make it rare or valuable, right? Well, not exactly. 1982 was actually a pivotal year for the US Mint, and it's that very transition that makes the 1982 Lincoln penny so fascinating for collectors. The penny went through a major change that year, and if you happen to have one of the rare variants from that time, you could be holding on to a valuable piece of American history. So, let's set the scene. Before 1982, pennies were made primarily of 95% copper and 5% zinc. This was the standard for many years, and most people didn't think twice about the pennies in their pockets. But then, in 1982, the US Mint made a significant change to the composition of the penny due to rising copper prices. The Mint began producing pennies made from 97.5% zinc, with only a thin copper coating on the outside. This change was designed to make the coin cheaper to produce while still keeping the penny's appearance similar to the copper-based ones. But here's the thing, during the transition, the US Mint wasn't as precise with its process as you might expect. This resulted in two different types of 1982 Lincoln pennies, one made primarily of copper and another made from zinc with a copper plating. If you were collecting pennies back then, you wouldn't have noticed the difference. They both looked almost identical. But over time, collectors began to realize that the copper-based pennies from 1982 are far rarer and more valuable than their zinc counterparts. Now, when it comes to identifying which type of 1982 penny you have, it's all about the weight. The copper pennies weigh about 3.11 grams, while the zinc ones are lighter, weighing around 2.5 grams. This slight difference in weight is one of the easiest ways to determine the value of your 1982 penny. But there's another important factor that can make your coin even more valuable: the mint mark. In 1982, the US Mint issued pennies from both the Denver and Philadelphia mints. The Denver Mint pennies carry a D mint mark, while those struck in Philadelphia typically don't have any mint mark at all. However, the coins that really catch collectors' attention are the ones that have the rarest combination, a 1982 copper penny with a D mint mark from the Denver Mint. This variant is harder to find because, as we mentioned earlier, most of the 1982 pennies were struck with the zinc composition. Now, let's talk about the big question: how much is a 1982 Lincoln penny really worth? While most of the 1982 pennies you come across will only be worth a few cents, the copper-based pennies from 1982 with the D mint mark have a significantly higher value, especially if they're in uncirculated condition. Uncirculated pennies, free from any signs of wear or damage, are the holy grail for coin collectors. These coins are often carefully stored and kept in pristine condition, and because of that, they command premium prices in the market. But here's where it gets even more exciting. There are specific 1982 pennies that are in such high demand that they can sell for an eye-popping amount of money. If you happen to have a 1982 copper penny with the D mint mark in perfect condition, or even better, one with a minting error, this penny could fetch a remarkable price at auction. A well-preserved coin with this combination can easily sell for thousands of dollars, and in rare cases, you could be looking at a value that far exceeds your expectations. And now, for the moment you've all been waiting for. If you've got a 1982 Lincoln penny that meets all the right criteria, especially the copper version with the D mint mark in mint condition, this coin could be worth up to $44,000. Yes, that's right, $44,000 for a single penny. It's almost hard to believe, but this is exactly the kind of treasure you could find tucked away in your collection. So, what does this mean for you? If you've got a jar full of old pennies or you've inherited a coin collection, it's definitely worth checking for any 1982 copper pennies with a D mint mark. Even if you don't have one of these rare, high-value pennies, there are other collectible coins out there waiting to be discovered. The world of coin collecting is full of surprises, and sometimes those surprises are worth more than you could ever imagine. Today, we've got an exciting topic that's going to blow your mind. If you've ever thought a penny was just a penny, think again. We're talking about the 1973 Lincoln penny, an unassuming little coin that might be worth far more than you ever imagined. So, if you've been collecting coins for years or just stumbled across a jar of loose change, you'll want to stick around to find out why this particular penny could be worth thousands of dollars. The 1973 Lincoln penny might seem like an ordinary coin, and for most people, it probably is. After all, it's a simple copper-plated zinc penny that has been circulating for decades. But as with many valuable coins, it's not just about the year it was minted. The true value lies in its rarity, condition, and a few unique factors that make it highly sought after by collectors. Let's take a deep dive into why the 1973 penny might be more valuable than you think. First, let's talk about the history and context of the 1973 penny. This was a time of economic change in the United States. The country was in the midst of the 1970s, an era marked by rising inflation, shifts in the political landscape, and increasing costs of living. While these pennies were being used by the public for everyday transactions, no one could have guessed that they would one day become the subject of intense interest among numismatists and collectors. At the time, the U.S. Mint was still using a composition of 95% copper and 5% zinc to strike the 1-cent coin. The design of the penny had remained largely unchanged since it was first introduced in 1909, featuring the profile of President Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. The design was symbolic and reflected the nation's pride in its history, but it wasn't until years later that people started to take a closer look at certain 1973 pennies to uncover their hidden value. So, what makes the 1973 Lincoln penny stand out from the crowd? For one, there are certain rare variations of this coin that collectors pay top dollar for. While most of the 1973 pennies you'll encounter will be fairly common and relatively low in value, there are key factors that can make some of these coins worth a fortune. The most significant of these factors is the condition of the penny. Coins that are well preserved and remain in uncirculated condition are always in high demand. This is especially true for older coins that have managed to survive decades of circulation without being damaged or worn down. If you happen to have a 1973 penny in pristine condition, it could fetch a much higher price than a coin that's been tossed around in your pocket for years. The better the condition, the more valuable the coin becomes. Now, let's talk about the mint mark. The mint mark is an important feature on most U.S. coins, indicating where the coin was produced. For the 1973 Lincoln penny, there were two main minting facilities, the Philadelphia Mint and the Denver Mint. The majority of these pennies were struck in Denver and carry a D mint mark, while those minted in Philadelphia do not have a mint mark at all. However, the real treasure lies in a specific version of the 1973 penny, the 1973 penny with a D mint mark that has been kept in excellent condition. What makes this particular coin so valuable? The answer lies in its rarity. Although millions of 1973 pennies were minted, only a small fraction of them were kept in pristine condition. And those that did make it to collectors' hands are highly coveted due to their historical significance, especially when they are part of a collection that includes other rare coins from the era. Additionally, there are some even rarer versions of the 1973 penny that were struck with minting errors. These types of coins are always in high demand among collectors because they represent unique mistakes in the minting process. For example, some 1973 pennies may have double die errors, where the design appears twice due to an issue with the die. Other errors could include misaligned strikes, creating a coin that looks different from the standard issue. If you happen to find a 1973 penny with one of these minting errors, it could significantly increase the coin's value. So, how much is the 1973 Lincoln penny actually worth? If you have a well-preserved, uncirculated 1973 penny with a D mint mark or one with a rare minting error, you might be sitting on a small fortune. As demand for rare coins continues to rise, the value of these pennies has skyrocketed. Believe it or not, some of these coins have sold for prices that far exceed their face value, with one of the highest selling for a stunning $48,000, yes, you heard that right, $48,000 for a single 1973 Lincoln penny. This is no exaggeration. Coins in mint condition, especially those with unique features like errors or rare mint marks, can fetch astounding prices in the right market. It's a reminder that some of the most valuable treasures can be the ones we least expect, hiding in plain sight. Now, if you're thinking, I must check every penny I've got. You're right. It's always worth taking the time to go through your coin collection or jar of loose change, as you might just have a rare gem among them. Even if your 1973 penny isn't worth $48,000, there are other valuable coins out there waiting to be discovered. And the more you learn about rare coins, the better your chances are of finding one that could change your life. Today, we're diving into the world of rare coins, and we have something truly special for you. Have you ever wondered if the pennies you find in your pocket could be worth a small fortune? Well, if you've come across a 1960 Lincoln penny with the right features, you might be sitting on a treasure worth thousands of dollars. In this video, we're going to explore why the 1960 Lincoln penny is one of the most sought-after coins in the world of numismatics, and just how much this little coin could be worth today. Stay with us until the end, you won't believe the value of this penny. First off, let's set the scene. In 1960, the United States was undergoing significant changes. The country was still in the middle of the post-war era, and the economy was shifting. People were using coins just like they always had, spending pennies here and there without thinking twice. But what they didn't know is that some of these pennies, particularly the ones minted in 1960, would eventually become a hot commodity in the coin collecting world. Now, at first glance, a 1960 Lincoln penny might not seem all that special. After all, this was a time when the design of the penny had already been in circulation for over 50 years. The obverse features the iconic profile of President Abraham Lincoln, and the reverse displays the famous Lincoln Memorial. These were classic symbols of the United States, and for most people, they were simply a regular part of everyday life. But there are some important details that set the 1960 penny apart from others, making it an absolute goldmine for collectors. One of the key reasons why the 1960 penny is so valuable is its rarity in top condition. While millions of these pennies were produced, finding one in uncirculated or near-perfect condition is extremely rare. The vast majority of the 1960 pennies were in circulation for years, meaning they've been worn down, scratched, or damaged in some way. It's the uncirculated coins, those that have avoided the wear and tear of daily life, that really get the attention of coin collectors. These coins can command a much higher price, and in some cases, they can be worth thousands of dollars, but here's where it gets even more interesting. The real jackpot for collectors is a specific version of the 1960 penny, a rare variety that has a distinctive feature. Some 1960 pennies were struck with a large date and a small date design. This was a mistake that occurred during the minting process, where the digits in the date on the obverse side of the coin were struck in two different sizes. The large date variety was more common, but the small date variety is the one that collectors truly seek out. Why does this matter? Because the small date version of the 1960 penny is incredibly rare. When this error occurred, the small date pennies were produced in much smaller numbers compared to the large date variety, making them far more valuable today. If you happen to have a 1960 penny with a small date, you're holding on to a rare and highly desirable coin. So, how do you identify the small date versus the large date on a 1960 penny? The key is to look at the top of the 9 in the year. On the large date penny, the top of the 9 is much higher than the top of the 0, while on the small date penny, the top of the 9 is much closer to the 0. It may sound subtle, but this difference is what sets the two varieties apart. Now that we know about the different date variations, let's talk about another important factor that affects the value of the 1960 penny, the mint mark. Most 1960 pennies were produced at the Philadelphia Mint and don't carry a mint mark, but there were also some minted in Denver, which feature the famous D mint mark. While the majority of 1960 pennies you'll come across won't have a mint mark, finding one with a mint mark, especially one in excellent condition, can significantly boost the value of the coin. But wait, there's more. Even within the 1960 series, there are some pennies with minting errors that add an extra layer of rarity. These errors can range from off-center strikes to double die impressions, and coins with such defects can often fetch much higher prices at auction. A penny with a noticeable error could easily become a sought-after piece in the coin market, further driving up its value. So, just how much could a 1960 Lincoln penny be worth? If you're lucky enough to have one of the small date varieties, especially one in uncirculated condition, it could be worth significantly more than just a few cents. Some of the rarest 1960 pennies have sold for as much as $55,000. That's right, $55,000 for a single penny. The combination of rarity, historical significance, and collector demand has made the 1960 small date Lincoln penny one of the most valuable and sought-after coins in the world of numismatics. Imagine finding one of these pennies tucked away in your collection, or even buried deep in your coin jar. It's an incredible discovery that could turn your everyday pocket change into a life-changing sum of money. If you've got a stash of pennies, it's definitely worth taking the time to carefully inspect each one, because that 1960 small date penny could be the hidden treasure you've been looking for. Now that you know just how much a 1960 Lincoln penny can be worth, don't forget to check your coins. Whether you've inherited a collection or have a jar full of old change, you might just have a rare gem waiting for you. If you enjoyed learning about this incredible coin and want to know more about other valuable pennies, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the notification bell so you never miss a future video. Thanks for watching, and happy hunting. Who knows, maybe your next coin discovery could be worth $55,000.